Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Mistretta.
Is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Fucking bitch, answer your phone! You're such a fucking cheating ass piece of shit. I fucking hate you, you fucking fat ass, untalented, dumbass piece of shit. You're a pussy. You're a fucking pussy. Go kill yourself, fucking bitch.
I didn't know what it was like to be productive until recently. Or maybe I used to know. I don't really remember. For 3 years, I lied to myself and told myself that I was putting in work. But in reality, all my productivity went to pleasing a person who didn't give a single fuck about what I aspired to do or who I aspired to be. I always had a hard time learning how to communicate with people. I've been self-conscious since I was a kid, and as I got older, I realized that it became harder for people to understand why I come off the way I do. Being shy used to come off as a cute characteristic of mine. Now it comes off as me not caring about what someone else says. Really? I'm just always scared of coming off as stupid or overstepping boundaries. I guess what attracted me to her was that I didn't feel stupid. Both of us had major insecurities, yet with each other, we felt completely confident. Or so I thought. What I sought was someone to have a mutual connection with. And while physically there definitely was, emotionally and mentally, we were completely far off from each other. And at that point, a physical connection means absolutely nothing. The worst part, though, is that because I sought to be so close to this person, I ended up turning into her. I was no longer just shy or self-conscious. I became standoffish, rude, obsessive. My heart and my emotions and my actions were not in the right place as long as I was with her. All I wanted was to please her, and my biggest fear was never if I'll fail my classes or not make it as an artist. My biggest fear was losing her. And at a very early point, everything that we shared ended up becoming a one-way streak. I didn't care about much, but as long as she was happy, I was content. I was confusing my happiness with my inability to disappoint someone else, no matter how ridiculous their logic was. I confused her love with the fear of being alone, the fear of having to start all over and put my trust into yet another person who would promise that I mean the world to them. And I didn't think I'd have the heart to do that again. Without going into too much detail, I remember a friend of mine saying that I was in a toxic relationship. I wondered what he meant by that. Toxic relationship. Funny enough, that wouldn't be the only time someone used that term to describe us. I used to go online and read article after article about the signs of being in a toxic relationship or how to get out of a toxic relationship. I remember turning so hostile about it after a while. I doubted it. I followed people who were only worried about my safety and well-being. I did lose a number of friends. However, some proved that the issues were not just within my relationship, but within my emotional state as a whole, and they didn't want to understand where I was coming from, instead making me out to be some kind of psychotic maniac, so I wouldn't really consider them a loss. While I understand now that I was not within a right state of mind, it was extremely hard to see that at the time, I let my emotions take over. At the time, I couldn't just see the benefits in dropping a person who I worked so hard for to please. I couldn't imagine being in a state of relief after leaving her. I always told myself that there was a way to fix any argument. Whether it was an argument that led to pointing out our insecurities or overthinking situations, which then led to accusing each other of being unfaithful, I would always sooner or later come back to the mindset that we would both be in a much worse scenario had we ended it all and move on. It took a while. Crazy enough, it took 3 years for me to make a decision that should have been made days after we started talking. That's insane when I think about it. 3 years of abuse, 3 years of anxiety and depression bumped to an all-time high, 3 years of neglectance from the person you once wished would be the person you spend the rest of your life with, the person who you were willing to do anything for and drop anyone for. If I could go back and change it all, you know what? I wouldn't. I wouldn't, because had I not gone through any of it, I wouldn't have seen the ultimatum. I wouldn't have realized that some of the people I lost through the process really didn't care whether I was safe or not. They just didn't understand what this person was doing to me and how she was affecting my mind and thought process. And for the people who did stay in my life, I wouldn't have realized just how much they loved me. That they acknowledged what she was doing to me and were the ones constantly willing to work with me and show me the appreciation that I was expecting from her all this time. I would have still gone through it, because even though it made me more self-conscious than I already was, it made me realize that I have choices. When I used to say I can't lose her, it was because I didn't know that there was another choice. No matter how many times someone told me I could be so much happier without her, I was too caught up in my emotions and state of being that I didn't see the positive effects of living a life without her. It took a huge jab in the heart for me to finally be able to let her go, but I'm glad it all happened. It's been months now since we last had contact, and when I look at all the accomplishments I've achieved without her constantly weighing me down, I can confidently say that I made the right choice. I do often find myself thinking about her, but not in the way I once did. I find myself thinking in disbelief as to why she ever did what she did and wondering what she ever gained out of it. I find myself thinking if she ever was sorry for breaking another human being so many countless times. I find myself thinking about how self-conscious I still am and how it only got worse in many cases because of everything she put me through. I told myself I wouldn't make art that had to do with her. I wouldn't give her any credit for my artistic endeavors, which she always shot down in the first place. But what I learned as a growing artist is that if something or someone had such an impact on you, whether it was to a positive or negative extent, art is always there to be a tool of expression for any experience you've overcome. The images you just saw are visual representations of what it felt like to be in a toxic relationship for 3 years. Now I know what a lot of you are thinking. I sound like just every other whiny teenager ranting about love and loss. Maybe that's true. But for me, this experience is associated with the transformation of myself as a person and as an artist. It made me realize a lot about myself that had previously been clouded in a daze of confusion and self-deprecation. I'm still struggling with self-love, care, and acceptance. But that's okay. I'd rather take that struggle than continuous mental, physical, and emotional abuse by another person any day of the week.